Hey guys, James here with another fun Friday video. One thing that isn't very fun is this whole situation that's going on with my eye. Try and ignore it. I am. It's just a thing. Bit irritating, but whatever. That's not the point of this video. This video is Fun Friday, which means we're doing fun videos that doesn't require any thinking. And today is a big day because we're doing the first book haul that I've done for a year plus, maybe. Mainly because this is the first time I've actually gone out and bought books in 2018. And I don't normally do like book hauls and stuff because I don't really buy a lot of books. Oftentimes I'll buy one book that's not worth making a video for, but this time I've gone fucking punch drunk with power and I've bought loads of books, so fuck it, we'll show them. People like these videos. First one on the list is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, which is about 4 women who go into a place called Area X, which is like an alien crash site, possibly. Not really explained at the beginning, but it's they're part of this organization called the Southern Reach. You may be familiar with the title because look, it's now a major film directed by Alex Garland. I don't know why they felt the need to point out it was directed by Alex Garland, as though that were like a huge stamp of approval. I really do like Alex Garland's films. He did Ex Machina, which is fantastic, and it recently came out that he like potentially directed most of Dredd, which is a Judge Dredd adaptation that was big a little while ago. But he's not like a big financially successful director. He's more well known for writing screenplays, like he did the screenplay for 28 Days Later and things like that. I really like him, but is that a big selling point for your book? Would now a major film not have been enough? Who knows? I've seen the film. I thought it was pretty good. Not that his best work, but it was pretty good. I don't know how people really feel about this book. I know his Jeff Vandermeer's new book, Born, has not been that well received. But we'll see. We'll see. It could be a good one. I love a bit of sci-fi, me. Speaking of a bit of sci-fi, here is a book about Jeremy Renner's big bloated face. No, it's not what the book's about as far as I know. This is, it's called Arrival here because with the presence of Jeremy Renner, obviously, and now it's a major motion picture. I guess Denis Villeneuve is not as good a director as Alex Garland to warrant having that written on the book. But yeah, this is Arrival, otherwise known as A Story of Your Life and Other Short Stories or something, by Ted Chiang. This is a short story sci-fi collection. I'm not sure what they all are about, but obviously the main Arrival story, which in this I believe is called Story of Your Life, is about a visitation by aliens. So I'm assuming that it's about that. Like all the collections are probably about aliens contacting Earth in some way. Let's see what it says on the back. From a soaring Babylonian tower that connects a flat Earth with the heavens above, to a world where angelic visitations are a wondrous and terrifying part of everyday life. From a neural modification that eliminates the appeal of physical beauty, to an alien language that challenges our very perception of time and reality, Chang's rigorously imagined stories invite us to question our understanding of the universe and our place in it. So it sounds like it's just sort of his different sci-fi musings then, not all about aliens. Don't know about that flat Earth bit, but we'll see. If it's a universe where the Earth really is flat, that'll be fine, I suppose. Next on the list, Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. Already read this one, already have a review up for it. It's not very good, but basically this is about a teenage summer detective agency a la Scooby-Doo and the Famous Five, which is now grown up. Now they're young adults, 25, 26 years old, and they are returning to the scene of their last case because something spooky happened for real, and it wasn't just an old man Withers in a mask all along. It was some real spooky stuff, and they're going to go and investigate that as grown-ups. Very much pitched as Call of Cthulhu meets Scooby-Doo, which it kind of is, but it's written by like this proper moron who just loves to do pop culture references to the point of fucking insanity, and it's not funny. It's just sort of eye-rolling, really. It's definitely not terrorising and hilarious, USA Today said, and Booklist said it's an enjoyable romp, which I guess it kind of is. Like, I had some fun reading it, but it was more cringe than real fun. So there you go. Next on the list, The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. Keep hearing just infinite good things about this one. And George R.R. Martin has written a blurb for it, which of course he shouldn't be doing because Winds of Winter's not out. Is it, George? You're not actually allowed to write any words unless they're directly in the Game of Thrones A Song of Ice and Fire series, George. Everyone knows that. Millions of forum posters have told you. So just stop it. Stop reading books. Stop living your life. And just be a slave to the rabid fanboys that you've created. No, so let's have a look at this. The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. It is about a group of thieves called the Gentlemen Bastards. I assume they're doing a heist of some sort because they're thieves. And that's really all I know about it. But I love a good thief. I love thieves and gangs of thieves in fantasy. And it looks like it's more like Renaissance type fantasy than it is medieval times, which is always interesting. It's a bit fresh, a bit fresher. So yeah, that could be a potentially very good. BookTube certainly seems to think it's great. Speaking of things BookTube seems to think is pretty good right now, Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames is one that I've been hearing a lot about recently. This is about a gang of mercenaries. They're like a band of mercenaries who are now old and retired and drunk and fat and not in their prime, certainly. But they get approached with another job, and it's like a job that they just can't refuse sort of situation. So they get the old gang back together. Now, I was pretty excited for this book to go and pick it up. And then I noticed on the top here, the tagline is "The boys are back in town," which immediately just made me really upset because that's the sort of stupid thing Edgar Cantero would write in his book, and that's not funny. And it does describe this as a rollicking, page-turning, edge-of-your-seat road trip of a book. I don't know who John Gwynne is, but he seemed to think that was the case. Let me just see if there's any mention of laughing. Make you laugh, humour, and I really hope this sort of takes itself somewhat seriously. It isn't just a laugh-a-minute gag book, because that will make me really upset if that's the case. But yes, Kings of the Wild, people have been saying it's alright, and they're excited to read it, so let's see if that works out. Another one that I've been seeing everywhere recently is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, which is it's about 18th century Cairo, which is an unfamiliar, unusual setting, and it kind of sounds a bit like Aladdin. So you've got a young woman called Nari, yes. We've got a young woman called Nari, who's like a street rat, thiefy Aladdin type character, and she meets a genie. Okay, cool. This is the problem with book hauls, and it's why I don't normally do them. As if I haven't read the book, there's not really a lot I can say other than I bought this. So going back on that train, I bought this. The Saviour's Champion by Jenna Moreci. Jenna Moreci is a YouTuber, author-tuber, not really a booktuber, but author-tube for certain. So she is self-published this book, which is fucking heavy as hell. I don't know what Amazon are doing when they print these, but they've used like the heaviest possible type of book that they could to print it on. So this is about a tournament, which is a tournament to the death, although it's not a fight to the death. They're just like lethal challenges. And it's all to win the hand of marriage to this woman called the Saviour. And some of the people just want to do it so they can get power, I guess. And some of them are doing it for other reasons. The main character is called Tobias, and he's like an artist who I think is just doing it so he can get rich and save his starving or ill family. But it sounds pretty cool. I like Jenna's YouTube channel. Like, I think she's really, like, she's very funny, very natural in front of the camera and stuff. But I've heard really bad reviews for her first book, Eve the Awakening, which was a YA sci-fi book, which sounded like everything I really hated about Meddling Kids rolled into it. Hopefully this is not the same. I've heard much more positive reviews for this one, so looking forward to reading that. I'll probably read that one first out of all of these. So yeah, Saviour's Champion by Jenna Moreci. Next one, this is not a numbered list. Next one, this interesting story behind picking this up. I've got Arcanum Unbounded, which is not a word, Brandon, by Brandon Sanderson. Unbounded. I think he just did Arcanum Unbound. That's a proper title. So this is like a collection. I know fuck all about this book, by the way, and I'll explain why in a second. But this is basically it's a short fiction collection from Brandon Sanderson, and it has the collection includes 9 works in all. So they're basically just random short fiction, like novella length and short story length things from Brandon Sanderson. They're all in his Cosmere thing that he does, which is like just the overall collection of all his works, I think, is rolled in. The problem is, I haven't read any Brandon Sanderson stuff. I read half of Mistborn, like the first one, The Final Empire. I read half of that, and then sort of got tired of it because epic fantasy and me often don't go hand in hand, because I find books over sort of 900 pages to be tedious. But yeah, I've never read it before. So why, you're asking, did I pick this up? Well, the answer is, near to where I live is what's called it's a free to take library kind of deal. So I bought 2 new copies of The Witcher books, the last 2 in the Witcher series. That would be The Tower of the Swallow and The Lady of the Lake. And the reason I bought 2 new copies is because the ones I had were like giant and the rest of mine were normal size. So I wanted them to match because I'm a fucking frivolous weirdo like that. But it's like one of my favourite series. Normally I wouldn't give a shit, but it's one of my favourite series, so I wanted to have them all match, because, you know, vanity, why not? And I had the 2 left over, and I was like, oh, what do I fucking do with that? So I was like, okay, well, I'll just take them to this little free book swap thing. So basically the idea is you leave a book there and you get to take one. So I left them there because I didn't know what to do with them, and they had this there, and it was like the only thing I was vaguely interested in. Brandon Sanderson obviously is one of those guys that is like, you know, you just say his name and people are all about it. But I don't really know a lot about him. It could be good, it could be like awful, because I've never read any of his other stuff, but I don't know. It does cost $16.99 though, this hardback, so saved myself a penny or 2 there. Not that I would have read it if it was not free, I suppose. Yeah, so if anyone's read this and thinks it's actually good to read, or if I should just not bother because it's haven't read his other stuff. Well, let me know. So there you go. Arcanum Unbound dead. Right, last one. The last one, and this is one that I heard about recently from Bookie Laura's review of it, and I don't think she liked it that much. I thought it was like a middling thing for her, but it actually sounded really cool to me. And that is The 7 Deaths of In Hardcastle, which is about it's a young woman who's like a socialite, like a wealthy heiress or something. Yeah, so it's basically this wealthy young woman who is murdered in her mansion, and it's got like a cool little map in here that's like a bit like the Cluedo map, which is fun. So she's murdered at like a house party, like a big fancy ball or something, and there's a guy who is trying to solve the murder. Aiden, he's one of the guests. He needs to solve the murder for some reason. I don't know if he's like a detective or something, but he has to solve the murder. But the gimmick is every time Evelyn dies, the day is reset, and he is reborn into the body of one of the other guests. So he has to solve the crime from a different perspective. I guess he has to just keep doing it until he can gather enough clues. I suppose there must be some sort of ticking clock element, because does he just get an infinite number of chances to do it? I don't know. But it sounds really interesting. Quite a unique premise for a book. Sophie Hannah thinks it's unique. I don't know who Sophie Hannah is, but it says, this book blew my mind. Utterly original and unique. So it's not utterly original. I've seen this sort of story done before. But it was in a video game called Shadow of Memories, which is about you getting murdered, and then you get saved from being dead by this demon, and he like sends you back in time, and you have to solve your own murder, and also prevent yourself getting murdered at the same time by doing like time traveling. And there's a bit where like you get killed by a sniper who hides behind a statue. So in order to save yourself, you have to go back in time and convince the mayor to not put a statue there, but to put a memorial tree there instead that is like thin so he can't hide. And like that's really cool. And that sounds kind of like what this would be. So very interested to read that one. That is The 7 Deaths of In Hardcastle. And that is all of the books that I bought. It's a lot of them. I'm not gonna fucking like squat lift them all now, because there's a few hardbacks there and they're fucking heavy. I might do it for the thumbnail. But yeah, that's it. So that's Fun Friday over. Thanks for watching, guys. Do a subscribe if you want, and I'll see you tomorrow for a small topic roundup of a sit-down Saturday, because I've got a few things to talk about this week, so why not mix them all together? They're not very important. And I'll see you then. Bye!